It is March 19th, 2025, and you're watching Cover News. In a previous story, we covered that the Trump administration had refused to turn around a flight heading towards El Salvador carrying migrants. Judge James Boasberg, the judge presiding over this case, requested information about that refusal in order to determine the legality and whether Trump did or didn't refuse a valid court order. He requested information about the flights, the people on that flight, and the times that the Department of Justice got the information regarding the judge's orders. He gave the Department of Justice until noon Wednesday to respond. The Department of Justice responded, filing Wednesday morning asking for a pause on his order to answer any questions. In their filing, they said, continuing to beat a dead horse solely for the sake of prying from the government legally immaterial facts and wholly within the sphere of core functions of the executive branch is purposeless and frustrating to the consideration of the actual legal issue at stake in this case. So what they're saying here is that this is totally within the purview of the government to do. We're allowed to deport people without due process under this Alien Enemies Act. And you even asking about it is frustrating and purposeless. The judge had initially ordered the government to answer his questions surrounding the flights by noon Tuesday. The Justice Department declined to answer some of his questions, saying, if, however, the court nevertheless orders the government to provide additional details, the court should do so in an in-camera ex parte declaration in order to protect sensitive information bearing on foreign relations. So the Department of Justice agrees to give information, but only in this ex parte declaration. An ex parte declaration refers to a legal procedure where a judge reviews a declaration, a statement of facts, in private without the presence or knowledge of the opposing party. It's often used to protect sensitive information. So Boasberg agrees to this and asks them to send it over by Wednesday in a sealed format so that only he could review it. Pretty much telling the Department of Justice, hey, if you want to do this privately, we can do it privately. I just want to review the facts to make sure you didn't defy my order. That maybe, it could be the case that I ordered something and you were already in the process of doing it, and then there's no way, like, the migrants had already been landed in El Salvador and they're already in jail, and that there's nothing that you can do. I was too late in making my request. But he just wants to know, what times did you get my information? What times did these flights go out? Who was on these flights? And, what was the communication between you and El Salvador and the people within your department? What did you guys say? I want those emails. I want to know what was going on, and did you defy me, or was this just all a misunderstanding? So after he agreed to this, the Department of Justice responded today. The court has now spent more time trying to ferret out information about the government's flight schedule and relations, something that the government can totally do, continuing with the quote, with foreign countries than it did in investigating the facts before certifying the class action in this case. I'm going to pause the quote here. So basically they're saying, hey, now you're just trying to find out whether we defied your court order rather than trying to find out whether we were allowed to deport these people or not, which is part of what he seems to be investigating here. He wants to know who was on these flights. Are these actual gang members that are invading our country and trying to cause irreparable harm to the state that we know, the United States? That's what he's asking here. And they're pretty much saying, you're trying to figure these things out and we don't want to tell you. And they continue on to say that observation reflects on how upside down this case has become, as digressive micromanagement has outweighed the considerations of the legal issues. And then they continue with the distraction of the specific facts surrounding the movement of an airplane has derailed this case long enough and should end until the circuit court has had its chance to weigh in. So basically, they're saying, no, we're not going to give you this information that you requested. We're going to refuse your order again, and we're just going to wait until a higher court decides to take this up. Hopefully, they're trying to go up to a circuit court and then have that taken all the way up to the Supreme Court, just delaying and trying to push this along. And in the meantime, these people that were deported, we don't know who they are. We don't know whether they actually are affiliated with a gang. We don't know anything about them. They were just deported without any kind of due process that we know of to this point. So, yeah, it seems like this judge is just trying to figure things out, and the government is refusing him every step of the way. The next steps for Judge Boasberg is probably going to be to hold the government in contempt. This could be monetary fines, or these could be criminal proceedings. Less likely the criminal proceedings, but these sorts of things ramp up in severity as they continue to go along. As they defy more and more against the court, the judge has the right to investigate these things and figure out whether or not the Department of Justice is going by the book on this, or if they're just defying legal court orders from federal judges. We'll continue to watch this story and give you more information as it comes out. You've watched Cover News. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.